this is the workshop for HOL 2282. I am one of the captains, Eric Stein. My co-captain, Parul, unfortunately wasn't able to join me in this recording. But hopefully, if you're able to, you can join us in the live session during VMworld. All right, and of course, VMworld October 5th through 7th this year. We'd like to thank our sponsors, of course, Google Cloud, IBM, Intel, and Microsoft Azure. Actually, portions of the hands-on labs are running in each of their cloud environments. So very cool. Thank you again to those sponsors for running some of our hands-on labs environments. All right, so I'm not going to walk through the agenda. Let's just get into it. So as I mentioned, my name is Eric Stein. I have been with VMware for a number of years now. Actually started out early on. We had recently acquired Akimbe right before I joined, and their core product that we sold was a product called Lab Manager. A Lab Manager, I loved it. We actually built a cool platform internally we called vScell, I think is the virtual SE lab, using Lab Manager. And a lot of the key concepts and features of Lab Manager actually were built into this new product called vCloud Director back probably about 10, 11 years ago. And at first, actually, I hated vCloud Director because we took all of the developers from the Lab Manager team to build vCloud Director, and so we didn't have anybody left to maintain Lab Manager. But also because all of the concepts and features of Lab Manager kind of were built into vCloud Director, they ended up just killing Lab Manager. And so at first I hated vCloud Director because it killed the product that I really liked. But then when I started playing with vCloud Director and getting more comfortable with it, I found that I liked it, and actually I found that it scaled better than Lab Manager and it was had a much faster UI and user experience as well. So yes, over time I grew to love vCloud Director, and now of course we recently renamed it to VMware Cloud Director. So it's still VCD, it's just the little V is grown up to a big V because it stands for VMware. And so, yeah, that's a bit about me. I am on our cloud provider program. I joined that team back in early 2016. And so I've been working with a number of our cloud partners over these past 5 years. And then as part of that, I actually built an internal lab for demoing our products, to our cloud partners, and they asked me if I would help build the VCD hands-on lab once they saw my demo environment. And so the old "no good deed goes unpunished" concept. So that's when I started working on the hands-on labs, for building the VCD labs. And so I've been building them for the past 5 years now. And then, as I mentioned earlier, my co-captain, Parul, she is a staff engineer in our storage and availability group, focused on, working on vCN stuff. And she is, as you see, worked with a number of our products. And she also has been supporting HOLs in the past 5+ years. As a captain, and she's been helping me with the 2082, 2182, and now 2282. So the past 3 years we've been working together, and she has been a great help in getting this lab out. Honestly, the lab probably wouldn't have been published if it wasn't for her help. So very great co-captain. So hopefully y'all will get a chance to chat with her at some point. All right, so constructing the lab. So the picture on the left is actually, I just swiped that from the documentation, and it's just really showing the it's the lab use case of deploying it out. You know, one of the neat things with Cloud Director Availability is that you can deploy the appliance in a consolidated fashion, so all the moving parts are in a single appliance. And while that is great for, you know, test dev lab use case, it is not recommended for production. For production, it's actually recommended to install separate appliances for each of the components that are required. And that's in the documentation as well. But in our lab, of course, you know, these are we're kind of you know, short on space in these environments because it's a shared environment. We have a lot of other labs going on at the same time, so we have to try and keep things small. And so I used the, you know, consolidated appliance in our lab. So this picture is actually, you know, pretty good. It shows, you know, both Cloud Site A or 1 in the picture and Cloud Site 2. In our lab, we call them sites A and B. But just to give you an idea of what's going on there. And actually, in site A, I did something doing a little trickery in the lab, so we can show multiple use cases. And so, you know, and we'll get into that, but just, you know, so you understand the basic concepts of what's going on. But, you know, as far as building the environment out, you know, as I mentioned, you know, we're limited on space, but I had to try and, you know, squeeze two sites in there. But I also wanted to do the on-prem to cloud use case, so that's where I'm kind of double using Site A. Site A is used for both the on-prem to cloud as well as cloud to cloud, Site A to Site B. So it has you know, a couple of different appliances deployed there. And then you know, so, and that's really the tricky part, is just trying to squeeze everything in there. And yeah, I can't remember. I think there's something like 17 VMs in you know, base VMs running in there, and then we have a, you know, a bunch of or a handful of VMs running in the nested layer in this environment as well. So, you know, just in case y'all didn't know, all of our hands-on labs are actually just vApps in VCD. So, you know, when you're taking this lab, it is just a vApp in VCD. It's fully self-contained. It has a bunch of virtual ESX hosts, you know, vCenter running at the base layer, some shared storage, and then the VCD appliances or VMs. I'm actually not running the appliances yet, probably next year. They just keep getting better with each release. I just didn't have time, and so what I did is I just upgraded last year's appliances. Anyway, you know, just being lazy because I you know, had to focus on my day job. But so here's you know, the base breakdown of, you know, the pod itself, all the moving parts. I will say Cloud Director Availability is really easy to install, you know, either in the consolidated or the multiple appliances. It's single OVA, and when you're deploying it, you just choose what, you know, how you want it to deploy. So it's super easy. And then down here at the bottom, the little Easter egg and I'm using this for myself, but also, you know, I use it to show my partners, and y'all feel free to, you know, take advantage of this as well. Site A is vSphere 6.7 with NSX-V, 6.4 something or other, 6.4 something. Yeah, can't remember what version is exactly, but and then Site B is running vSphere 7 with NSX-T 3.0 or 3.1. I can't remember which, but it's NSX-T 3.x. So if you want to play with the pod, you know, after you, of course, have become completely familiar with Cloud Director Availability, you can use this same pod, deploy the lab, so you can, you know, get a look at vSphere 6 versus vSphere 7 and NSX-B versus NSX-T. not just standalone, but also how they interact with VCD, because both sites have VCD deployed as well. So you can see how NSX-V works with VCD, as well as how NSX-T works with VCD, and look at their differences. And if I have time, I might actually write a secondary lab manual, and we can spin up another lab. It'd be like 2282-02, but that probably won't happen until later in the year, if it happens at all. But anyway, that's just something nice to know about the lab. So yeah, here's breakdown when you go to take the lab in the environment. You have these different modules in there. It's all just one lab. You have different modules that you can jump around in the table of contents. I'll show you that in the next slide. But this is kind of what I was talking about. Module 2 is the one that we're going to focus on today. It's the on-prem to the cloud migration. And so that here you see is just showing you Site A vSphere on-prem, migrating to the cloud. Modules 3 and 4 are both cloud to cloud, Site A to Site B. Oops, I just realized my slide is messed up. That should be a Site A, but no worries. You understand what it means, and so that should be a Site A to Site B, not Site B to Site B. But then the main difference between 3 and 4 is module 3 is showing it as if the administrator was using it to migrate or failover VMs from one to the other. And then module 4 is the same thing, but it's driven by the tenant. So that's the nice thing about this. And this kind of falls in line with what VCD is. VCD allows for a lot of self-service. So administrators don't have to babysit the environment. They just give the user their access, and then the user can do a lot of self-service in VCD. And this integrates with the VCD UI beautifully. So tenants can do their own self-service migration and DR. Without having to bother the administrators. So that's a really nice feature capability. All right, as far as lab experience, when you get into the VMware Learning Platform, VLP, that's our hands-on lab interface that everybody's used to. When you deploy the lab, when you enroll and kick it off, in the upper right, or really on the right-hand side of the screen, you get your manual that pops up. And so, if we start over here looking at the right side of the screen, you get your manual, and then on the main window, you have the console. And sometimes you have to wait a little bit for the console to pop up. You get a little dialogue saying, it'll take a few seconds. But the manual pops up immediately. And if you want to jump around, if you want to just go straight through the lab, you can. You'll see these blue arrows here, and you just go click next, 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 next. And you can go through the whole lab in one sitting if you so choose. But if you ever want to jump around between modules, you can do that as well. And just a side note, all of our hands-on labs are designed in such a way that you can jump around between modules. All the modules are supposed to be independent of each other. So if you say only have enough time to sit through module 1, you can come back the next day and take module 2, come back the next day, take module 3. And so you can jump around. And the way that you jump around between the modules is in the manual. You just click on the table of contents, and then you get this middle window that pops up. And if you just click on it, on any of the sections in here, if you want to go straight to a particular spot, click on it. And then what happens is the manual will then, over here on the left, it'll just go straight to that page. And so if you click on module 2, it'll take you straight to page 17 in the manual. So that's how you jump around between the different modules in there. And just also FYI, remember each module is meant to be standalone. So if you go drill down in the middle of a module and start there, if there are any steps that needed to happen before where you start, you might be missing out. So if you're ever coming into a fresh lab you want to start at the beginning of the module. All right. So, let's get into the lab itself. And I like to show this screen because we don't actually show this screen in the lab, but it's in there. If you click the more and go to the disaster recovery, I can't remember exactly what it is. I'll show you when we're actually doing it, but the lab won't walk you through it. But this is just a neat thing that's in there. It's designed for cloud partners it's actually a different page from the tenant side versus the provider. You see here, this is a screenshot of the provider portal. This is to explain to the partner the benefits of providing DR as a service to the end customers. On the tenant side, you can publish this screen, and it's focused on the tenant, telling the tenant to basically, if they're interested in DR as a service, to ask their cloud provider about it. And so that's an opportunity for cloud providers to, basically, advertise the potential service that the customers can ask for, and then they turn it on, and then we'll actually show you how to do that in module 2. So let's get into it. Let me exit that and bring this over. All right, and so as I mentioned, we're going to go into the table of contents. FYI, module 1 is just kind of a an overview. There's no actual lab steps in there. It's all just reading. So it's no actual interaction with the console or anything, but it's still good info to have. And then module 2 is where we get started actually interacting. So let's do that. So go to module 2. Notice our manual went straight there. Also, just so you know, if you want, you can bring up the manual on another screen. You can shrink that down. You can maximize that if you want, the console screen. But I'm going to keep this. You can also resize this if you want. I like to resize it and get it kind of about there, because I don't really use those buttons when I'm using the manual. And that way, y'all can see the manual while I'm working on it together. So actually, I'll go through this in order. Oh, and you can also, if the manual is taking up too much space, you can shrink it down a little bit. So let's do that to make it easier for y'all to see what I'm doing on the big screen. Okay, this tells you what you're going to learn, and then gets started with site pairing. So that's the first trick, of course, is you have to pair the sites before you can actually move anything between them. So this walks you through launching Chrome. You can either click on it down in the taskbar, or there's also, of course, the big icon on the desktop that you can just double click on. Also, another note, since I'm have it here, if at any point you're in here just goofing off, once you're done playing with VCDA and you just kind of want to maybe use the lab to play around and look at stuff, the README has more info about the lab, and it has some the user IDs and passwords for different VMs in there. So just so you know about that. Okay, so let's come in here. This tells us to log in as administrator at vSphere.local. It's already pre-populated. I tried to make this so most of the passwords that you might have to enter will be pre-populated for you. So you should just be able to click login. And let's go to the next screen. And then this is telling us to open up a new tab, and we're going to go to region B, and we're going to log in as the tenant first. So we're going to tenant, and it tells us to log in as T1 admin, again, pre-populated for you. So just click sign in. All right, and really what this is doing is it's just pointing out that there's nothing here next to monitor. And the reason is we haven't published any extensions, for the tenants yet. And so that's one of the neat things of a few versions back. we made it so you can create plugins for the VCD UI, and that they can interact with the UI and they can show up as new options. And so that's actually what we're going to do now, is we're going to log in as the provider to enable that extension for the user. So I mentioned, it pre-populates. Well, the way, obviously, URLs and browser password saving works is you can't have it saved for multiple pages on the same URL, but we can still save passwords in here. So I'll just tell you, if you just click on it, go to administrator, that is the username for the provider login. So again, at least I made it so you don't have to type, but you do have to click. Or if you want to type, of course, you can type it in as well. Okay, so we're logged in there. And so now what it's doing is it's talking about publishing the VCDA plugin. So we go to more, and this is what I was talking about. Setup, DR, and migration. That was that screen I showed you in the screenshot. The lab doesn't actually tell you to use that, but that is the thing that allows providers and users to learn about Cloud Director Availability. The actual availability one is the one that has the integration with the VCDA appliances, so you can actually do stuff. But right now what we need to do is make it so the user can see it. And so we go to Customize Portal, and you see down here, there's that setup, drafts, and migration. Here's the VMware Cloud Director Availability. So let's click on it and let's go to publish. I'm jumping ahead here, sorry. So yeah, okay. So in here, now we want to publish it for tenants. If I had multiple tenants, I could just do one or the other. In this case, if I only have one tenant, so if I click tenant one or all tenants, it'd be the same. So let's click save, and now it's telling me to create a policy for that tenant. So that's actually so now we're going to go back to that availability. And so this is we're logged in as the administrator. We have to create a policy. Notice there's a default policy here. It used to be nothing was allowed. Now with this version, there's notice the protection / migration. So protection, so DR, is not allowed by default. However, migration is. And the reason being, for our cloud providers, we actually don't charge for the migration use case. And so we just enabled it by default. So, even if you haven't set up any policies for tenants to, do the protection, they can still do migration. And that's just an easy way to get VMs migrated into the environment, from on-prem into the environment. But we want to create a new policy, and we are going to call it, we have to scroll down, we see it at T1 policy. So in the manual here, it explains everything in here, all the different settings. I'm not going to get into it, but just you can read the manual. It'll walk you through all that. Setting the RPO in here, setting the max number of rotated instances, and so you can do point in time recovery, that sort of thing. And then we're going to leave it at default, but if on your own time, feel free to come in here and play with the different settings and see what it does. Obviously, bandwidth throttling isn't going to do much for you in this environment, but in real life, you can definitely play with that. All right, so let's create that policy, and then we're going to assign the policy to our tenant one user, or tenant, really. Okay. All right, So I just enabled the checkbox and clicked it. All right, and now we need to log out. The reason we have to log out is if I go back to tenant one, it'll just log us in as an administrator, and we don't want to do that. We want to log in as the tenant. So we're going to log out as the administrator, and then we're going to go back to tenant one. And notice it, T1 admin there again. Okay. So we're logged in as the tenant. And notice now we actually have a drop down next to monitor. Remember, it was grayed out, or just the border was just all black around it. So now we have a drop down, and in that drop down we have set up DR and migration. Wait a minute, I enabled the wrong one. Oops. All right, let's go fix that real quick. I think I was so excited about showing you that I enabled the wrong one. Oops. Administrator. See, not everybody's perfect. Had I actually been reading the manual and doing what the manual told me to do, then I'm sure it would have worked. All right, so customize portal. Okay, this is the one. Publish. Tenants. All tenants. Okay, save. All right, so now let's log out. Go back to the tenant. Hopefully, as y'all are going through this, you're actually reading the manual and not just doing what I tell you to do. Otherwise, it's the do as we wrote in the manual, not as I say. How about that? All right, so now here's my more, and I still, now I have the availability. So you can see both. This is the one I was talking about that's geared toward tenants. And this is the one for actually managing it. And this is what you're supposed to do in there. Okay, so retrieve service endpoint address. So here, what we're going to do is go into the peer sites. And here's our site B. This is, the VCD instance in site B. And so this is a nice thing they added a couple versions back. Just the ability to click on the clipboard icon to add it to your clipboard. Very nice. All right, so now we go back to our on-prem and we expand to the menu. And here we have the cloud provider, DR, and migration. And this is here because I installed the appliance and told it to talk to the vCenter. And so it put a plug-in in the vCenter UI, so you have this now. Okay. So it's telling us we're not paired with anything. So let's click pair now. Let's see, and then normally this environment of the hands-on lab, most of the hands-on labs are blocked off so that it can't actually get out on the network. When it can get out on the network, it actually lists out a handful of our cloud provider partners that have Cloud Director Availability DR as a service offerings. So it'll list it out there. It's kind of handy. But in this case, we don't have that. So let's just go ahead and pair. All right, so now what it's asking us for is the name of this site. This is going to be the site A on-prem, and so we're just going to say vSphere on-prem. And so what this is going to do is list that as a site, in our Cloud Director Availability. So here it's asking for the lookup service. It auto fills it for you, because I already configured that in the appliance, so the appliance can talk to vCenter. Also, you already have the administrator at vSphere.local populated for you in here. And so you can just click next. Okay, now here is where it's asking about the cloud details. This is the site pairing. So we just defined the on-prem side of it. So now we're defining the cloud side. This is where we're going to paste in that site target that we copied earlier. All right, so there's our site target. Now we can't log into VCD with our vSphere credentials. So here, sorry, you actually have to type something. Wait a minute. Okay, yeah. So it walks you through. It tells you T1 admin at tenant one. So you can, go to our T1 admin there and then just add at tenant one, or you can just type it all out if you want. All right, and then the password is VMware one bang, as you see here. You can manually type it, but I'll give you a secret. That's what's already populated. So you can leave that if you want. And then if you check this box, this makes it so you can move things back and forth between on-prem and the cloud. If you don't check that box, you can migrate things to the cloud, but the cloud can't send things back. So I like checking that one, but it's up to you. The manual, we're saying go ahead and check it. Okay, so it's asking if we want to accept the cert. Of course we do, and we hit finish. Okay. Oh, you know what? I forgot to check. It's kind of hidden in this lab or in this UI. You have to scroll down to see that little checkbox there. So here, I'll show you. Hopefully y'all didn't click finish. If you did, I'll show you how to get there. But yeah, we were supposed to check this, and I again jumped around, jumped ahead, didn't read my own instructions in the manual, and hit finish. But no fear, we can get there. But if you did check it, cool, then you're going to be right where we need to be. I will, for those of you that didn't check the box like I just didn't, you're going to be right where we are right here. So notice here it says review the details, enable edit, click finish. But notice the note right here. If you get prompted to save the password, oh sorry, there we go. What? Why is this? Oh, I guess my authentication timed out. Okay, ignore that part. All right, so now, okay, so that was talking about if you get prompted to save password. I think we fixed that problem though, so you shouldn't have been prompted to save the password. But now it's saying, to configure the placement. Okay. All right, now this is the part I wanted you to see. If you didn't enable this in the previous step, that's where we are right now, then look for placement to newly recovered VMs on the site. All right, and so in here, if we go to cloud sites, or settings rather, sorry, settings, notice the placement to newly recovered VMs on this site. If we click configure, then it's going to take us to where this screenshot is showing us that we should be. Okay, so it's asking you to select the VM folder, and click region A01, click next. All right, and then select region A01 comp 01, and next. And here it's telling us to pick the network, and it's going to be VM region A01 BDS comp. Next, my manual is being slow. And then storage, well, we made that easy. There's only one storage option. So next, and then ready to complete and hit finish. All right, so now the reason we do the placement is, if we are failing things over from the cloud back to this environment, That's what I was asking for, is where do we put those things if they're coming back over here? All right. What is going on with my manual? All right. So that was weird. I had a weird little glitch with my manual. Okay, so we went through all that. And now let's see here. Ready? Okay, confirm the pairing is successful. So let's see here. Now it should, look, hey, look, it's paired. Yay. Okay, aren't any replications? We haven't configured any yet. All right, so now we're going to do the failover workflows. So configure replication from on-prem to the cloud. Still be logged in. We haven't gone anywhere, right? We haven't closed anything. Okay. And so now it's explaining everything, and it's telling us to click on outgoing replications. Okay. And it says click on the icon, new protection. Well, you don't know what these are until you mouse over them, right? So, but also, if you're not sure, the manual has a picture for you. So it tells you new protection, but mouse over them, new protection. FYI, you could also just go to all actions, new protection, same idea, okay? So now, it's telling us to, our username is T1 admin with password of VMware 1 bang. Click login. So what this is doing is we're on the on-prem site right now. It's asking you for your cloud credentials, so it can talk to the user it can talk to the user's OVDC, running in the VCD instance in the cloud. Okay. And then here we have, VM Core A is the one we want. Next. I wonder if I'm having some network issues. All right, so my manual is being weird, but I'll just walk you through it. Okay, so this is asking destination, VDC, and storage policy. So select a virtual data center from site B to be used as a replication target. And here we have tenant 1 OVDC-B. Wait a minute. Why is this not working? Oh, it's because I haven't selected. Okay, I have to scroll down. Sorry. Again, I think it's the screen size thing. So that's why. So we click any on the storage, because that's our only storage policy that we have available. Obviously, if you had multiple storage policies, you would just select them. Okay, and now we can click next. And that's what it's telling us here. Okay. And then configure settings. So here it explains everything again, and then down at the bottom we just say leave everything at default and click next. Actually, I like to shrink it down to 5 minutes just for fun, but follow the instructions. Don't do what I do. Okay. Now, complete replication to cloud, we do that. Okay, so now notice it's configuring a replication. Our overall health is red because it's not set up yet. It's still working on it, and we're gonna let it count down. And our manual is being slow again. Hopefully y'all don't have these manual issues. I'm sure this is just because of my test environment that I'm running in right now. We save all the good resources for our actual customers and partners. Internally for our dev stuff, we run it pretty lean. All right, so now notice the swirly is gone, it's done working, and now we have green overall health. That means that our replication is set up. and it's pretty much synced at this point. So let's see if I can jump around. No, okay. So okay, there we go. Confirm replication is started. Should take a minute or two. Overall health is green. There we are. Okay, now confirm the replication status from the cloud provider site. So let's click on our secondary tab there and go to tenant one OVDC in BCD site B. And so oh, okay, sorry, it's telling us to go to availability. All right. I'm starting to read the manual now instead of just doing whatever I want. Okay, so now it says click on incoming replication. So there. And confirm the VM core A replication. And so here we have core A. Notice it. It's green. Overall protection is green. It's happy. It's healthy. It's replicating. Okay. So, man, this manual. I was trying to go by what the manual wants to tell us. I'll just leave it there. Okay. So now we're happy that our replication is there. I think our next step is either to test or maybe to map resources. Let's look at that while we're waiting for the manual to catch up. So mapping resources. Okay, let's see here. Now our manual, before we can run recovery, we need to configure a test failover network. Yeah, okay. So I was going in the right place. So switch to the on-premise tab. From outgoing replications, check the checkbox for core A. Expand all actions. Click on network settings. So what I was doing before the manual came up is I was doing it from the cloud side, which if you go to resources, you can see what resources it's using. You can go to network settings here. Our manual is showing you can do it here from either side. So this is actually one of the nice things about vCDA is you can configure these from the vCDA appliances. You can configure them from the vSphere UI, from the plugin there, or you can configure them from the Cloud Director UI from the plugin there. And the look and feel is identical across all of them, which is just awesome. Makes it very user-friendly. Okay, so so we clicked on network settings, and now it's telling us select migrate failover, which is already highlighted for us. Expand none, which is this one. And this is our production, if you will. This is going to be what we would use if we actually do a migration or failover. Select tenant one OVDC. All right. This manual thing is killing me. All right. So IP mode, I'm just going to do, let's do IP pool. All right. I can't remember if we have IP pool set up. I think we do. So we'll just hit apply. I don't know why my manual is being weird. All right, so we set that up. Oh wait, I didn't mean to finish that because I think next step in the manual, hopefully your manuals are working, was to set up the test network. So we set up the production network, then you click on test before hitting apply. And here we have a separate OVDC network that we've already pre-configured on the cloud side that is meant to be used for test, and it's fenced off. And the benefit of that is you can run tests. We'll do the same IP pool. You can run tests that don't mess with anything else. And so if you want to just test the failover and make sure it's working, oh, okay, yeah, there it goes. It's telling us to do the test. The benefit is if you test the failover and it works, then you're happy and you can clean up, but it's non-disruptive. So you can test as frequently as you want without messing with your production environment. Okay, very much like our other tool that's been around forever, SRM. Main thing is SRM doesn't work with VCD, but Cloud Director Availability was designed specifically for using with VCD. So, but yeah, a lot of the same concepts and features are there, and a lot of DR tools do have those capabilities of testing things. All right, which is good. You want to be able to test your DR plans without actually messing with your production environment. Okay, so now let's actually run a test. And so we have our core here. I'm using my icons. The eyeball is the test one. And I could have clicked on here. It says the eyeball. Okay. All right, so now saying configure recovery for test. So it's just, we want to power on the recovered VMs, apply pre-configured network settings. That's what we already did. So just leave it at default, click next. And then here, we're going to leave it at the default, which is to sync up the VM. So that means if any changes have happened since the last sync, go ahead and sync it one more time. Since we set it to I set it to a 5-minute. If you leave it at the 24-hour, which was the default, then this is a great way to make sure you get your latest changes. In general, it's good if you're able to do this to go ahead and do it. Obviously, if you have a black hole disaster where the primary site just isn't there anymore or not on the network where it can sync, then you skip that step. You just recover what you have. Okay, so we're running the test, and what the test is doing. All right, so yeah, here now we'll step through it. Ready. Test failovers in progress, and completed and successful. Once it is, one thing to note, please be patient. When y'all are doing this in your in the actual live environment, again, remember shared resources, lots of other labs going on at the same time. Typically when we do VMworld in person, we can have up to like 480 labs running simultaneously. So on a limited set of resources. So we can sometimes have things that take a while. And since we're running everything virtual this year, and we have expanded out into more lab space in our hyperscaler partners, I don't know how many labs we'll have running simultaneously, but we're still going to have a finite amount of resources available to us, and at the same time a significant larger number of users than we normally do. Normally at VMworld in person, I think we have like 20,000 or give or take a couple thousand people, but we have limited number of we're fixed based on the actual seats that we can do for hands-on labs. For our virtual last year, we had over 100,000 people attending. So crazy how many more people you have when nobody has to travel. Great. It's awesome that we have that many people. So I don't know how many simultaneous labs we'll be able to do, but just keep in mind it could take a few minutes. All right, so now let's view the failover VM at the cloud site. So click on your Cloud Director tab. It should still be logged in as the tenant. And if you go to data centers and then click on your tenant one OVDC-B, oh, look at that. There's that core AVM. It's powered on. You can actually interact with it if you so choose. Confirm core A shows there. Verify network is the tenant one OVDC testnet. Hey, look at that. It is connected to the test network that we told it to use, or the network that we told it to use for tests. It's there. Cool. All right. So now I think we're going to go back, since the manual is being weird on me again. We're going to go back and clean up our test run. So we've run our test. We'll pretend that we went in and interacted with the VM and made sure it was all good. So now we're going to clean up our test. So we go to test cleanup. And so what this does is it just cleans up after itself. We don't need that VM running over there anymore. So it's going to get rid of it. Oh, hey, here we go. Now our manual's back. There's the test cleanup. Okay, click on cleanup. We did that. Confirm cleanup is started. We're doing that right now. And then recovery state not started. Overall health is green. All right, so that'll be, oh, there it goes. Cool. So now confirm VM is removed from the cloud site. So we come back over here and let's just refresh. Hey, look, no more core A. Okay, so if the protected source site is unavailable from the destination site, user can perform a workload. This is actually what I was talking about earlier in your black hole disaster. If site A, isn't on the network anymore for whatever reason, tornado, hurricane, flooding, backhoe took out fiber, whatever. If site A can't connect to site B over the network anymore, then you have to recover from site B. And so, we're going to do this now from the cloud side. So click on availability. And my guess is it's going to have us coming to incoming replications because that's where it is. And we have core A and then all actions. All right, click on failover. All right, there we go, failover. All right, and it explains the settings to you. And then it just says leave all the defaults and click next. And it's going to say defaults and next again and finish. All right, so now what we're doing is we are failing over this VM. So it's taking whatever our last synced copy was and starting it up in the cloud side. So this is mainly to point out that we can initiate the failover from either side. And again, this will take a minute. Let's see here. Oh, there it is. Okay, yep, we did that. Finish. There's percentage of progress. Okay, and take a couple minutes. All right. And so we're waiting for it to turn green. I'm going to read ahead while I'm waiting on mine to turn green, just in case my manual goes squirrely on me again. All right, so after confirm the VM is failover, powered on. Oh yeah, so it's just saying to go back to data centers. And oh look, there's core A powered on. And you remember the network before was testnet because we actually did a failover. It's on our production network now, the normal org net, not the testnet. Okay. Man, this is killing me. All right, so I can see where we are. I can just read the headings and know what the next steps are. Okay, so go to Husk and configure reverse. Oh, okay, we're gonna fail it back. All right, cool. I'm just gonna read through these real quick. So we're gonna fail it back. So we'll simulate everything's happy. The fiber line was rerun, and and the backhoe operator got fired. Who knows? And so we're going to reverse the replication back, and then we're going to basically move it back over, and then configure migrate settings. Then we're going to migrate it over to site A, and then once it's migrated back, we'll reprotect it, and then reverse the settings and basically get it all back over. Okay, so here it comes. All right, now we're going to go back to here, the vSphere side of it, and it shows that it's failed over. Cool. And so now we will reverse the replication. So what this is going to do, all this is doing is switching the replication. So before we were replicating from site A to site B, and now what we're doing is we're reversing the replication going from site B back to site A. And so again, this is simulating site A is happy again. The network is back up. They're able to talk. And so we're going to sync changes from site B, everything that happened to that VM while it was running in our DR site. We're going to replicate those back to site A. But hey, where did it go? The reason it disappeared is because it's no longer an outgoing replication. Now it's an incoming replication. And so there it is. And it is reversed and it's green and happy. Okay. So we'll click on through this, reverse replication. All right, it disappeared. And we see that it's reversed. All right, so now we'll pretend that we are in an outage window or a maintenance window, and we're actually going to migrate it back over. And so we click on the VM and we go migrate. And leave the defaults and click next. Okay, so and they're taking a step back real quick. So first what we did was DR. So what is DR? DR is migration under duress. We lost connectivity to the site A. Site A was down. We couldn't access the VM, so we failed a VM over to site B. And then now everything's up and running normally. We're going to migrate the VM, and we're not going to fail it over. So failover is just assuming that your site is gone. If you're able to do so cleanly in a nice happy fashion, then you want to migrate your VM. And this is what I was talking about with the if you have point in time. Remember, that was one of the settings. If you could have up to 24 points in time, this is handy if something if you noticed problems were happening at a certain point, you can say, okay, I want to migrate it using this particular point in time. All right, so we're just going to leave all the defaults. I think I accidentally unchecked that. So, okay, leave the defaults, hit finish. Okay. And so now what it's doing is it's migrating the VM from site B, the DR site, the VCD environment, back to vSphere, site A. Here we can see it's chugging along. And I'm sure in the manual it says something about this might take a minute. Actually, now that I think about it, doing this in my test environment, which is also low on resources, might be similar to what y'all are experiencing doing this during VMworld. So maybe what I see in here is equivalent to what y'all are running into, except hopefully your manuals are working better. All right, I think that is purely a dev thing. In our VMworld environments, manuals always worked beautifully. All right, so let's see here. Recovery state failed over, overall health is green. We'll look for that. I'm just reading ahead while waiting on it to migrate. All right, since migration from cloud to on-premise is successful, workload is powered on, runs in the destination site, aka site A on-prem. And so it'll have us go look at the inventory, see that it's there. And then after migrating, we are going to reverse replication again, just like we did before, except this time it'll be taking the replication from site A to site B. So yeah, while it's finishing up there, let's just go to hosts and clusters and see if our core A VM is there. Okay, there it is. It's not powered on yet because it's still working on it, but it's there. So let's come back here. Okay, so it is recovery state is failed over. Now let's go look at it. Okay. What does it say? Here. All right, one recovered. Still running. Nope. You'll see a bunch of failed checking for updates. It checks for updates, FYI. All right, so what is this? Cancel. Oh, so okay. All right, so we should be good now. Let's go to incoming. All right, so it's happy, it's green. So now we're going to reverse it again. Okay, and we did that. All right, so again, it's reversing replication. So it's putting things back the way they were, going from site A to site B for DR purposes. So we failed it over, we migrated it back, and now we're reversing protection, and notice it disappeared from incoming because now it is outgoing. That's, I believe that is all. Let's see, view incoming replications. Let's see, okay, reverse from on-prem to cloud, view incoming from on-prem, replication status on-prem. Okay, so yeah, sorry, I'm just going off the headings since my manual's being squirrely. Okay, so we see outgoing is happy and green. Let's go to the cloud side. Go to availability. And let's see, incoming on the cloud side. There it is. So that's pretty much it for module 2. Thank you very much for taking this, and I hope you got something out of it. If you do have questions, you want to talk more in depth, feel free to reach out to your SE or SA or whatever they want to call us these days. Your techie that covers your account. Also, of course, you feel free to take the lab as many times as you want. That I use these labs throughout the year frequently to demo this for my partners. I also use it to to actually test things frequently. So I'll be working with one of my partners, and they'll ask me questions, and I'll spin out my labs. I use them for demos for education and for testing, test dev on my own stuff. So feel free to use them the same way for yourselves. Hopefully y'all got a lot out of this, and hopefully you'll take the rest of the lab. But obviously, for this, you're limited during VMworld to I think an hour and a half to get through it. You should be able to get through it, because this module is actually meant to only take about 30 minutes if you just crank through it. If you take your time and read everything, and actually want to play around with it, obviously it can take longer. But yeah, as I mentioned before, you can come back in and take the lab again. Take it as many times as you want to get familiar with it. And also feel free to use the labs rather than having to spin up your own if, again, you just want to use it internally for testing or education internally for your staff members to get familiar with it. But then obviously I recommend deploying it and using it when you want to see real world what it's going to look like and work right in your environment. So hopefully y'all got a lot out of it. Hope you enjoy VMworld and enjoy the rest of your hands-on labs experiences as well. Y'all have a great day. I'm going to, let's see here, stop the recording. Okay, well, thanks again. Y'all have a great rest of your VMworld. And, hopefully I'll get to, see you soon, at the next VMworld next year. Everybody stay happy and healthy. Have a great day.